Baba ganoush, eggplant grilled in the embers for the ultimate taste of smoke and fire. Lomo al trapo. Grilling doesn't get much more primal than this. Shortbread s'mores with Mexican chocolate. Brings out the kid in all of us. Hot stuff coming through. It's in the fire. I'm Stephen Raichlen, and from the Esplendor Resort in southern Arizona, it's time to grill. A 500,000 years ago, the world witnessed a revolution. Man became the first animal to cook. That first barbecue, meat roasted in a fire, eventually gave rise to language, technology, even art. You could almost say that barbecue begat civilization. Today's show takes us back to that first primal grill. Sorry, folks, no propane allowed. It's easy to forget in this day of designer kitchens and microwave ovens that for most of human history, most cooking was done directly in a fire. Case in point, baba ganoush, where the eggplants were actually laid right in the embers. Now, this accomplished two things. First of all, the surface charring of the skin gave the eggplant this incredible smoky flavor. And it also tenderized the eggplant. If you eat raw eggplant, it has a kind of an astringent quality. But when you roast it, it becomes creamy, almost like butter. Normally in my classes and lectures, I try to teach people how not to burn their food. Not so in this dish, a classic Middle Eastern dip called baba ganoush. The secret is to burn the eggplant. Now, first step is to cut a series of slits in the eggplant. You can just twist the knife a little bit. You'll see why in a minute. And then in each slit, insert a sliver of garlic. By the way, this garlic studding technique is not traditionally practiced in the Middle East. I first saw it in Trinidad and Tobago. So that's step number one. Step number two, the charcoal and the chimney. Now, my preferred way of lighting charcoal is to use a chimney starter. You place a piece of crumpled newspaper or a paraffin fire starter in the bottom, fill the top with charcoal. This is lump charcoal. You can see it actually began as wood. And charcoal was one of the first major technological advances. It dates back about 250,000 years. The way you make charcoal is you set the wood on fire and then deprive it of oxygen. This is commonly done in a kiln or sometimes in caves, sometimes by burying the lit wood. What does that accomplish? Well, first of all, you evaporate all the water, you get rid of a lot of the smoke-producing compounds, and it makes charcoal much lighter and easier to combust. Okay, so once the chimney starter's lit, and by the way, please not on a wooden table, you light it in the grill. All you need to do is dump out the chimney, rake the coals into a single layer, grab the eggplants. You want to lay the eggplants directly on the coals. And the idea is you roast the eggplants in the skin. What's going to happen is the skin will burn and it will impart an incredible smoke flavor to the eggplant flesh. Cooking time here is about 20 minutes in all. It's not something you can rush. Just want to turn the eggplants and char them in the skins. Well, the origin of the word barbecue, it comes from a Taino Indian word, barbacoa. The year was 1516. The place was the island of Hispaniola, today what's known as the Dominican Republic in Haiti. And a Spanish explorer named Gonzalo Fernando Oviedo y Valdez arrived, found a group of Taino Indians working over what looked like it was 4 posts with sticks stretched across the top. He asked, "What is that?" They thought he was referring to the particular grill, and they said barbacoa, and that became the word barbecue. How do you know when the eggplants are cooked? Well, you can just stab them with a carving fork or a skewer. The flesh is easy to pierce. So just take the eggplants out, and you want to kind of give them a tap to knock off any live embers. And what you want to do is just let the eggplants cool for a few minutes. And then with a paring knife, just peel off the burnt skin. You know, in the Middle East, you'll see people do this in their apartments, and they'll actually put the eggplant right on the burner on their stove without a pot. If you're married to someone who has a tendency to burn things on the grill, you know who I'm talking about. This is a great dish for them to make. Just cut the eggplants into large chunks and then transfer the flesh to a food processor. Now add the flavorings. First, tahini, which is a Middle East sesame paste. You can buy it in almost any grocery store. Then extra virgin olive oil, freshly squeezed lemon juice, chopped fresh parsley, salt, and of course, freshly ground black pepper. Place the top on the processor and run the machine in short bursts. And as always, you want to taste the baba ganoush. It's good, but we need a little bit more salt. Remember, a grill master's most important tools are his taste buds. Eggplant is one of the world's most popular vegetables to grill. You find it in South America, you find it in the Middle East, where it's used to make a dip called baba ganoush. You even find it in Japan. The reason is simple. Eggplant has a very spongy consistency, so it absorbs the fire and smoke flavors like a sponge. Now I want to show you how to make some grilled pita bread to serve with the baba ganoush. So in the pita bread, I've just cut some pita bread in half. Brush each with extra virgin olive oil. And of course, olive oil has been used in the Middle East almost as long as human history. Then sprinkle each brushed half with sesame seeds, another ingredient that dates back to biblical times. Okay, now for the grill, put the grill grate back on the grill, oil it with a folded paper towel or a rolled oiling cloth dipped in oil and drawn across the bars of the grate. Now take the pita breads and lay them on the grill. Cooking time is really quick, just a minute or two per side. Remember, the grill was the original toaster. And if the grill's hotter in the center, just simply rotate the pieces of pita bread so they cook evenly. And I want you to notice something else. I have coals on 2/3 of my grill, no coals in the front. This is my cool zone or safety zone. So once the pita breads are done, I can pull them off to the side without them burning. Here's your grilled pita bread and the baba ganoush, and just to finish it up, you can sprinkle it with a little hot paprika. This is amazing. The toasty pita bread, the smoky eggplant dip. And the best part of all, you don't even need a knife and fork. From the moment I heard about Lomo al trapo, beef tenderloin roasted in a cloth in the embers, I had to experience it. In fact, I made a special trip to Colombia just to try it. It's a spectacular way to cook beef. It looks really cool. Great dish for entertaining. It's utterly unique. What really turns me on is finding a dish that comes from one place that you can find nowhere else on the planet. My travels around the world's barbecue trail have shown me some pretty amazing dishes, but none tops a Colombian showstopper called Lomo al trapo. To make it, you need beef tenderloin and lots of salt, and one of these, a trapo, a clean cotton dishcloth. Watch carefully, it goes quickly. This is a Lomo beef tenderloin. Actually, it's a center cut from the tenderloin, weighs about 2 pounds. So the first step is to take salt, lots of salt, a couple of pounds, and you want to spread the salt out in a layer about 1/4 of an inch thick. Just spread it into an even layer. Next, sprinkle the salt with some dried oregano. Place the beef tenderloin in the center of the cloth. Then fold over one corner and the second corner to completely encase the beef. Fold the cloth over and start rolling up the beef tenderloin to encase it in cloth and salt. Okay. Now tie the lomo with butcher's string, and I'll show you a butcher's knot. Loop it over once, as though you were tying your shoe. Then point your fingers towards you, loop over the far string over your finger, bring it around, and tuck the end through. That creates a sort of slip knot so you can tie this tightly. And snip the ends off the string. Then tie off the far end the same way. Once again, loop through, and pointing your fingers to you, loop the distant string over the closest finger, loop around, tuck the string through, and pull it tight. This gives you a slip knot that you can pull to tighten securely. Now I'm going to finish tying it up. To cook the lomo, there's no cleaning or oiling the grill grate. Simply pick up the package and lay it right on the embers. Cooking time, 9 minutes on one side, 8 minutes on the other. Now here's a popular side dish that Latin Americans roast in the embers. They're called camotes. We note them as sweet potatoes. So simply take your camotes and lay them on the embers too. So the total cooking time for the sweet potatoes is about 45 minutes to an hour. You want to give your sweet potatoes a quarter turn about every 10 minutes. And because these will take longer to cook than the beef, I actually cooked a few potatoes earlier. And to test for doneness, what you do is insert a metal skewer. It should pierce the flesh easily. And whenever you're grilling foods in the embers and you want to transfer them for serving, always knock off any loose ash or embers and place the potatoes on a metal baking sheet because they will be quite hot. Here are our ember roasted sweet potatoes. I'll let them cool for a few moments. It's been 9 minutes. Turn your lomo al trapo over. Cooking time on this side is 8 minutes. Man has been grilling for about 500,000 years. That is, we know that about 500,000 years ago, Homo erectus used fire to roast and crack open marrow bones, extract the marrow. Why was this important? Well, the prehistoric diet, much like a hunter and gatherer diet, was very rich in protein, but very poor in fat. Fat contains a lot of important nutrients and vitamins. So if you could crack open marrow bones, extract the marrow, it was a nutritional home run. It's been 8 minutes on this side, 17 minutes in all. We'll take off the Lomo al trapo, put it on a metal baking sheet, and we'll let it rest for a couple minutes. Now, let me show you how to finish the potatoes. This is a garlic cilantro cumin butter. The recipe is on our website, and we'll just spread a little on top of each ember roasted sweet potato. And don't worry about removing every last little piece of ash. That's part of the charm of this dish. In keeping with our Stone Age theme here, this is a slab of slate. And the last one is for me to taste in a minute. So what you want to do is kind of crack this cloth and salt crust off the tenderloin, and then brush the excess salt off the meat. Using a carving fork, slice your lomo. Look at that. Looks like we nailed it. There's a restaurant outside Bogota called Andrés Carne de Res, and it started as a little six-seater with a guy at a grill. It's grown to this point to the size of a city block. On a typical weekend, they'll serve 2,000 to 3,000 people. Despite the size, they pay meticulous attention to the grilling. They have one station dedicated only to making lomo al trapo. The grill masters have clocks where they can time each one. It's 9 minutes on one side, 8 minutes on the other. You crack it open, and you get this unbelievably succulent, flavor, smoky piece of beef tenderloin. Slide your carving knife under the beef and transfer it to your serving platter. And I'll take this piece to sample. Now, traditionally, lomo al trapo is served all by itself. But if you want a sauce, this is called ají, and it's a Colombian hot chili sauce. You would never dream that something so simple could have such a complex flavor. So there you have it, lomo al trapo. Grilling doesn't get much more primal than this. Well, the s'more is a classic of American campfire cooking. You probably had it if you were a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout or you go camping. So what I wanted to do was sort of take it uptown. And first of all, I stuff the marshmallow with a sliver of chocolate so it too gets melted and flavored by the fire. And then instead of sandwiching it between dry graham crackers, I sandwich it between chocolate chip cookies. Up till now, our live fire dishes have been somewhat esoteric, but there's one I bet you've had already. It's a dessert, and you used to make it by toasting marshmallows and sandwiching them between chocolate and graham crackers. It melted into a gooey mess, and it was so good Yes, you asked for some more. Well, here's the Uptown version, how we make it at Primal Grill. First, the chocolate. Instead of an inexpensive candy bar, I'm using Mexican chocolate, which is crunchy with granulated sugar and scented with ground cinnamon. Next, the marshmallow. Take a marshmallow and poke a starter hole through it using a flat metal skewer. Now, insert a sliver of chocolate directly through the marshmallow. Let me show you another one. Again, take the marshmallow, make a starter hole with a flat metal skewer, and insert a sliver of chocolate. And now for the fun part. Next, slide the chocolate stuffed marshmallows onto a stick or a marshmallow fork. And finally, if you're working on a raging hot fire like this one, extend your marshmallow fork to its full length. Now, all you need to do is place the marshmallow over the fire. There are two schools of thought on this one. Some people like to cook the marshmallows just until they're golden brown. Other people like to set them on fire. You can guess what school I belong to. Now, that's the prudent stage. And here's how you do it if you're a fire-obsessed guy like I am. In many cultures, the barbecue grill is the focal point of family and social life. In fact, our word focus comes from the ancient Latin word focus, which was a raised hearth that was found in every ancient Roman home. The final step is to slide the toasted marshmallows and melted chocolate between two homemade chocolate chip cookies. Man, does this take me back. It's been 500,000 years since our ancestors first discovered cooking over live fire. And yet, it seems like it was just yesterday. So there you have it. Baba ganoush, Lomo al trapo, and shortbread s'mores. See you next time. Hot stuff coming through. We're in the fire. It's in the fire, right? 500,000 years ago, sorry. Up till now, most of our live fire dishes, sorry.
Okay, here we go. Okay, let's go one more time. That was...
My travels,